Okay, let's talk about Samsung's latest addition to their best-selling series, the Galaxy A16 5G. This time, we're getting 6 years of major OS upgrades, IP54 rating, a newer processor, but a default screen recorder is where Samsung draws the line.
Oh shit, here we go again.
So yeah, we got the Galaxy A16 5G, and while it looks like there is no difference from the predecessor, there are a couple of changes here. Some you might like, others not so much. For starters, it is important to note that this phone has two variants with different processors. There's one with the Exynos 1330 and the other sporting the MediaTek Dimensity 6300. That's the one we get in this region. There's also RAM options of 4, 6 and 8 gigs and storage of 128 or 256 gigabytes. And for some reason in this region we're only getting the base 4 gig version at the moment. Hopefully we'll get to see the 6 or 8 gig options soon. There's also no confirmation if we'll see a 4G version of this phone, because normally we see the 4G first and then later the 5G. But this time it's just the A16 5G. And Samsung released it significantly earlier than expected. The pricing has not changed, it is still about $170. If you're in Nigeria, yes, it has changed much because that now translates to 280,000 naira for the base version. For its price, the A16 is one of the few phones with 5G support, and like its predecessor, Samsung is hoping to sell a lot of them. The A15 has been the best-selling Android phone for the better part of 2024. That says a lot. And when you pick up a Galaxy A16 like every other Samsung phone, the unboxing experience is minimal, just the phone and a USB cable. Compared to the last generation and the generation before that, nothing much has changed with the design. It looks the same, and Samsung is willing to die on the heel of a U-notch for its lower A series. We have a few color options available for the A16. There's still the black, light grey, gold and green depending on your region. This gold one doesn't look quite good enough. I think the light grey still looks the best. The finish on the rear is now glossy compared to the matte on the A15 5G. The build quality is still the same with plastic build on the frame and the rear. Samsung is not joining the "our phone is super durable" gang just yet, so you best not drop it carelessly. The most you are assured here is IP54 rating for dust and splash resistance. Also, they've removed the headphone jack. I think we all saw that coming. It was only a matter of time before it gets to the lowest end of the A series. The SIM slot is a hybrid type that either accepts 2 nano SIM cards or 1 SIM card and an SD card. You can always get the 256 gig version if you want more storage and still want to use both SIM cards. The fingerprint scanner on the A16 5G is still on the power button and it does the job of unlocking the device. However, there is a slight delay, sometimes even up to a second, especially when the phone is idle for some time. On the display we have the infamous U-notch as highlighted previously. Samsung continues to be the only brand with a U-notch at this price point. If you can look past it though, it's still a solid and vibrant looking display. You'll notice the bezels are slimmer, although the chin is still there. Aside from the improved bezels, the display specifications have remained mostly the same. It is now 6.7 inches in size, it's still 90Hz refresh rate, 1080p resolution and up to 800 nits of peak brightness. The display looks great for media consumption. While this is AMOLED, always on display is one more feature Samsung reserves for the higher devices, so yeah, no AOD. Another thing lacking here is the stereo setup for the speaker. It has a single bottom firing speaker. While the stereo setup would have been better, the sound quality is actually not bad. The software on the Galaxy A16 is Samsung's latest One UI 6.1 on Android 14. Samsung decided to surprise everyone by promising 6 years of OS upgrades for this one. That is just one short of what they give to their flagships. That is completely unheard of for a budget phone. Not even most flagship phones can boast of 5. But one has to wonder if this phone will still be at optimum performance in 6 years, especially since that it's a budget phone which lacks some basic features like a default screen recorder. Who knows, maybe by the time it gets the 6th OS upgrade, that's Android 20 I believe, it should have gotten that screen recorder feature. Now jokes apart, 6 years upgrade promise is awesome for a budget phone. But that does not change the fact that One UI on Samsung's A series don't give you the best experience. There are still noticeable delays with the software which seem to be worse on the A16 5G. You'll notice it more when doing something demanding, say you've used the camera for a while or you just finished with a game. the device becomes slow and might take some time to be responsive. This is a One UI optimization problem, and I have no idea why Samsung has not found a permanent solution. There are snappier phones from the competition. When it's not stuttering though, the software experience is enjoyable. With that said, you want to get at least the 6GB version of this phone because from my experience, memory management here is poor, and that could be because I have the 4GB version. Of all the applications pre-installed here, one I did not expect to see was Phoenix Browser. You typically find this pre-installed on Transsion phones. What is Samsung trying to cook? On day-to-day usage for the average person, the lags in the software are probably ignorable. It's a phone that will meet most of your needs as long as you realize it's still a budget phone even if it is capable of 5G. The MediaTek Dimensity 6300 processor here is not very different in performance from the 6100 Plus on the A15 5G. You could even get away with calling this a rebranded one, but the 6300 has slightly better optimization. The Galaxy A16 5G is not a gaming phone, but it will handle some light gaming on medium graphics settings. The Dimensity 6300 is not a mid-range processor, it's a budget 5G processor. Do not expect better gaming performance than its predecessor. A game like Call of Duty Mobile will only go as high as medium graphics and high frame rate. Lowering the graphics settings will not provide higher frame rate option. With PUBG Mobile, you can reach ultra frame rate when the graphics is set to smooth or balanced. You will experience consistency for the most part with your games as long as you stick with low graphics, although you could install an old game like GTA San Andreas and have a good gaming performance on high graphics. There was no overheating in my experience, but as I mentioned earlier, after gaming even for a few minutes, the device becomes slow to respond for a short duration. Battery life on the Galaxy A16 5G is great. It's the standard 5000 mAh in capacity and it's well optimized to last you the entire day depending on how heavily you use your phone. The charging here is Samsung standard 25 watts and you need a charging brick with power delivery support because your standard non-Samsung charger might not give it any more than 15 watts. For its cameras, nothing has changed, the same configuration as the A15 with its 50 megapixel main camera, 5 megapixel ultra wide and 2 megapixel macro cameras. The selfie camera is 13 megapixels. The rear camera does great with the result, especially from the main camera. It does best in ideal lighting conditions. For low light, you might want to lower your expectations. It has a hard time maintaining focus and you might end up with blurry shots. The processing on the selfie camera does an okay job, but it lacks consistency, especially with portrait shots. You might need a few tries to get the right shot. For video, it can only do max 1080p at 30 fps. There is no 60 fps option for some reason, no optical image stabilization. The Galaxy A16 5G continues the trend for Samsung's A series, not changing much, not improving by much, but still providing the core experience. It offers impressive value with its long software support and solid main camera, making it a good budget-friendly option with 5G. However, its performance limitations and lack of a headphone jack might be a deal breaker for some users. Despite its limitations though, it might still maintain the run as their bestseller as it has been for the last years since the Galaxy A10 I believe. Now if we're directly comparing it to its predecessor, I think the A15 5G is a better buy right now because aside the extra software updates and IP54 rating on the A16, the A15 looks like the better deal. Same performance, still has the headphone jack and will be more affordable. If you want something a little extra in features, you can look towards options from Infinix like the Hot 50 Pro Plus, Tecno Spark 30 Pro, or wait to see what Redmi will come with for the Note 14. The only thing these alternatives won't offer you is 5G and the longer software support, and also depending on your region you might actually not have those options. If you want to stick to Samsung, you can as well go higher with your budget and pick up the A25 5G. That's all from me on the Galaxy A16 5G. On to the next.